I'm looking at the list here. I thought maybe we get the national championship out of the way first.
Okay.
And frankly, there's not much to say about the game, but I thought like the playoff system and some comments from people afterwards might be worthy of talking about.
I got some stuff there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably on the same page with that. And then we could do the NFL review of last week. And I just wanted to bring up, I love getting on Justin Fields, so I have stats to back it up this time. But
so I only really have the games that mattered last week.
Yeah, absolutely. We can make that part very, very quick because a lot of them did. Even like some of the games that would have been bigger games, they didn't really matter. So we don't have to dive into those.
Right.
And then we got Wild Card Weekend.
Yep.
I have a little something I want to say about both San Francisco and Buffalo.
Okay.
And so we'll do all the wild card matchups, that kind of stuff. And I think the matchups this week are great. Like, I really do think a lot of them are very interesting.
Sure.
Then you got your top 5 coaching ranks.
Yep.
Okay. And then I have Trick or Treat, even though it would have been better to do that around Halloween. We're gonna call it Trick or Treat because I just couldn't think up another name for it. Because you'll see what I mean. The idea of each thing I'm gonna throw at you is like, it seems like it's a good thing, but is it? Like, is this like a good thing or is this a trick?
A sour thing. Yeah.
Or is it like
sweet or sour? Like,
yeah, you'll see what I mean when we get to it. Like, is this going to be great or you think it could be good, but you're going to get fucked. So, and then we got our bets. I just wanted to throw out the NHL from Saturday thing real quick and more or less to say, hey, it was cool. I'm not going to break down the game. I'm not invested like that.
Barry Melrose.
But it brought me back in. I've watched 3 games. I watched the Devils play Carolina the other night. It was a freaking great game. But the game has changed since I've watched previously. So I wanted to bring that part up. It doesn't have to be long. And then we have Carlos Correa situation, which you're going to help explain. And then 95s.
Yep.
So it seems like a lot, but I think a lot of it is just like hit it and out, hit it and out, hit it and out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do this. I'll turn this on here. Yeah, I actually don't think it's a super long one, but you never know. You do never know.
We've learned over 2 years. It's like it could be.
I'm going to be emotional right off the bat with the first one because the way people act, it's nauseating, and you'll see what I mean.
All right.
So here we go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm an aggravated Pete Colasano, joined as always by my good friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude? I shouldn't say aggravated. I'm fired up. Maybe that's the word. Fired up.
So your middle name lately is aggravated. So it's
annoyed. Maybe annoyed. Maybe that's the better word. We'll get right into why. Let's talk right away. National championship game was quite the. After about 7 minutes, it was quite the snooze fest.
Georgia 65, TCU 7.
I will say I turned the game on a couple minutes in, and it was already like 10-7. But I was like, and TCU had the ball, and I'm like, okay. And they actually moved the ball on the drive that I'm talking about, and so they went like 30, 35 yards and then punted. I'm like, all right, well, we got a ball game here. Like it's only 10-7.
Yeah.
And then all hell broke loose, and by like 5 minutes left in the second quarter, it was 38-3 or 35-3 or 35-7, whatever the hell it was.
How long did you make it?
That was it.
Yeah.
Now I was up. The funny thing is I was up the rest of the game, and I did check on the phone to see like, hey, did they score? Like even if they would have just gotten like one touchdown or one score, like okay, if it was 38-14, you probably drew my interest back in. But we never even got that. So I just bailed on the game. And so the game itself, certainly a bit of a disappointment. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we both took TCU. That helped in the disappointment.
Oof. I actually bet him beside that, too. So I was
yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. It was not swell.
Who's more upset here, Michigan or Ohio State?
Wow, that's an interesting question. My initial instinct was to say Michigan. And Michigan is going to be the focal point of the point I actually want to make here as we move forward with this. That's a really good question.
My answer is Ohio State, and I'll tell you why.
Ohio State should be pissed at themselves because they had that game won.
Well, they already had Georgia won.
That's what I'm saying. They beat Georgia.
They really beat Georgia. Michigan, there's no guarantee that they would have been in that game against Georgia either way. So do I think it'd be better than TCU? Yes.
Oh, no doubt about it. Of course.
But Ohio State was closer because they already had Georgia. So then it was like.
This is what I'm saying. They had them beat. And like that game was, I don't want to say it was over because obviously it wasn't.
Right.
But they had them beat.
It was as close to being over as.
The other thing that kind of sucks for Michigan fans is that the one thing that like Texas Christian was doing good early was actually running the ball. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like if they're running the ball against Georgia, as the game was getting out of hand, I'm thinking, what would Michigan have done running the ball, keeping the ball out of Stetson Bennett's hands? I mean, now I will say this as far as like, because the game was a clunker, but Stetson Bennett has put himself into some rarefied air historically, collegiately. I doubt seriously he's going to make any noise as a professional quarterback, but he has definitely put himself into some rare air. He has played, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's played in 4 playoff games.
Yeah.
And he's been the MVP of all of them. And he's got 2 back-to-back national championships. I mean, he's in the quarterback conversation with like Vince Young,
Tim Tebow,
Stetson Bennett. I mean, it's amazing to me that
Matt Leinart.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to probably put him ahead of Matt Leinart, right? I mean, 2 national championships,
2 MVPs,
2 MVPs.
By the way, does he not have Chase Daniel all over him in the NFL?
Listen,
back up.
I think you'd be crazy not to give him a shot with like a 6th or 7th round pick.
I would absolutely give him a shot.
I love the idea of winners, hard worker, smart, clearly, and very accurate with the football and confident as fuck. He definitely has this Joe Burrow feel about him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just has this swagger, this walk about him. And I will say that one thing makes me go, Like I don't see a big time professional quarterback, but that one,
I got to be honest with you,
that swag, that way he carries himself, that level of confidence, I hold a little reservation before I say definitely not.
Do I think he's Josh Allen? Of course
no.
But do I think he's better than, no offense, Mike White, Zach Wilson right now?
Yes.
Do I think he's better than Davis Mills?
Yes.
Do I think he's better than whoever Arizona's going to run out there next year with Kyler being out for a long time? Yeah.
Yes.
I do think this guy's got a good – do you see the accuracy on some of those throws?
This is what I'm saying. His accuracy and timing. What do we always talk about? Anticipation, because that means you're reading defenses quickly. So anticipation is really, if you're looking for one thing that separates good quarterbacks coming out of college from guys that just don't cut it, it's anticipation, because they're reading defenses quickly, which is the hardest part. Believe me when I tell you, that's the hardest part, like getting from 1 to 2 to 3. That's the hardest part. He does it very quickly and very seamlessly. And so, yeah, I mean, decision-making and anticipation, he's really good at both. And as you point out, super accurate.
Arm's good.
He doesn't. It's okay. The arm is okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's not.
I just say, and I put him next to Joe Burrow, and I just say physically speaking, is he really that much different than Joe Burrow? He can run the ball a little bit. He's elusive. Can. Yeah, he's elusive. He's got about the leadership coming out of his fucking ears.
The guys love playing for him.
Carries himself that way. They believe in him. Yep. He's got about the same arm strength. Does Joe Burrow have a better arm than him? Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. Maybe.
This guy's come a long way. He's not just a throwaway definite, but you know what he's a little, I think he's maybe a little shorter than Joe Burrow, but that's about it. Which matters. Which certainly matters.
Georgia has, I don't know, 35-star guys, and they've had 5-star quarterbacks leave the program for this guy.
I know. And he was a walk-on.
And Kirby Smart said he's an all-time Bulldog. I don't want to hear about it. Stars, nothing. I don't care. And the guy proved it. And
absolutely.
Listen, congrats to Georgia.
He is now only this. There's only Herschel Walker as far as like historically in Georgia Bulldog lore.
You know what, dude? That's probably pretty good. It's
the only guy who's ahead of him. Who else would you, historically speaking, who else would you put ahead of him?
College-wise, Terrell Davis was a Georgia Bulldog, but he didn't even know. I didn't even think he played running back there.
Yeah, I think he was a 5th or 6th or 7th round pick.
Yeah, 6th.
So
David Pollock, who's on game day, was an all-time Georgia Bulldog, but even no
championships.
Nope.
I mean, these 2 championships are the first they've had since Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Interesting fact, in that game where Georgia won the national championship game with Herschel Walker as the running back.
Who did they beat? Penn State?
I don't remember who they beat. That's a good question. They threw the ball 1 time.
Oh my God.
The whole fucking game. They threw the ball one pass. Oh my God. Army Navy doesn't even do that. That's incredible.
Wow.
But this tells you the kind of freak that Herschel Walker was, man. Anyway, I wanted to. God, you got something.
Yeah, I got one thing, and then you could jump into you if you don't mind. Will the expansion to 12 teams hurt or help this?
Help what?
The SEC dominance in these championship games.
Okay. So this is kind of where I was starting to go.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it helps.
Sorry to take your thunder away.
No, not at all. It's a good segue into it. I think it helps college football overall. Here's what happened. Here were the comments that really drive me nuts. People saying TCU never should have been there. It should have been. I hear Alabama. Alabama had their chance. They lost to 2 teams during the regular season that lost 3 and 4 games. There's no argument there. There's no argument. They almost lost to Texas. They lost to LSU, who I think is 4 losses. And they lost to Tennessee, who had 3 losses. Right? Am I correct in those numbers?
I think
Tennessee had 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You have no argument. You have no argument. If you lost to only Georgia, you have an argument. But so take Alabama out of this. For people to say TCU shouldn't have been there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is what we talked about way back with Alabama. Why play the fucking games then?
That's what I'm saying. What do you want to just skip to the championship game in the hell of the season? Are you people forgetting that, 10 days before that, TCU pulled off one of the biggest upsets in like college football, we'll call BCS or whatever, playoff history? They beat Michigan, who was undefeated, who was just coming off beating Ohio State. Like, come on, dude. You're forgetting everything that happened. You're forgetting that they beat Oklahoma, they beat Texas, they beat Kansas State once and then lost to them in the championship game. They beat everybody who you put in front of them, and they beat Michigan the week before. Yeah. If anything, your anger should be directed, no offense, at Michigan. Yeah, Michigan ruined this thing. Michigan was the undefeated team. Michigan was the clear-cut favorite. Michigan was the team that everyone – we weren't too sure. We weren't 100% sure who was going to win between Georgia and Ohio State. We knew that Michigan was going to trounce TCU, at least beat them. It's Michigan who you should be mad at, not TCU. And it just drives me crazy. You're dismissing how exciting. I'm sure even as a Michigan fan, as pissed as you were, it was exciting watching that game because it's a holy shit moment. And to just say TCU shouldn't be in the championship game, you're totally dismissing that. You're taking away that, which was exactly what we talk about week in and week out, what makes college football so great.
Right.
When the Jets upset the Rams 2 years ago, and it was like, holy shit, wow, that's kind of a big deal because they were like 14-point underdogs. It's like, wow.
And it cost us Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Thanks a lot, Sam. We're all like, oh, wow, that's a big upset. TCU beats Michigan, and New Year's Eve gets paused for a couple minutes. Like, what the hell just happened? Don't take that away. Don't throw that away.
Well,
I think that's fun.
I think that's 2 years in a row now, too. With even Cincinnati getting in last year, people are like, oh, we had no choice to put him in because no one else stepped up to the spot. And I think TCU had the same feel this year, but TCU actually won the semifinal. Yeah.
I said this to somebody else because like, oh, Cincinnati didn't deserve to be there last year. Cincinnati played better against Alabama than Michigan did against Georgia last year. Yeah. That was still a game in the third quarter with Cincinnati and Alabama. That game was over in the first half with Georgia and Michigan last year. So, like, the funny thing is, over the last 2 years, it's those 4 seeds who people say don't belong there, who are the ones who have put up the good fight. If you have anger, it should be towards Michigan. If you have anger, it should be towards Ohio State. It should not be towards TCU or the small guy. It's so rare that they get in there. That's your problem? That's what was fun. The ratings, go look at the ratings for the championship game. They sucked. Number one, this NCAA has got to learn to put this game on Saturday. It needs to be on a Saturday night. Monday nights suck, especially on the East Coast. You're losing half your audience.
At least they dropped the time start, thank God. At least it wasn't 9 o'clock.
But still, a second half, it's a blowout. No one's watching. If it's a second half blowout on a Saturday night, people are probably still watching. At least they're staying up. They're not worried about, I got to go to work tomorrow. Fuck this. I'm not watching.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, man, it just drives me crazy as if the whole season meant nothing. The whole season meant nothing.
Yeah.
We should just go, well, Alabama, we know. I just have to watch. We know. The games mean nothing? They mean nothing?
Right.
Then for that matter, then Tennessee should have been in because at least they beat Alabama.
You make a good point, too, on Saturday with the game because then if you want to put 2 NFL games on, go noon, 4 o'clock, little appetizer, and then championship game at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like.
You know, it's funny. It might be the only time of the year that the NFL doesn't want to go up against somebody else. Like it might be the only time where the NFL would, if they went head to head with the NCAA championship game, it might be the only time that the NFL might lose in the ratings game. So they would be forced, to go earlier, which is fine. But college fans, we're weekend fans. We don't watch Monday. We're not, it doesn't feel right on a Monday night. So I think that's a big mistake.
No, it does not.
Man, I hate when people say, yes, I agree with you. The game sucked. The championship game sucked. But don't throw away the week before. I know as a Michigan fan, you want to hear this, but that's historic. That's historic. Why would you just let that go? Because, I heard one of the guys I work with, he heard on ESPN, like, would you rather your team doesn't make it or your team gets blown out in a championship game? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's ridiculous because nobody knows what's actually going to happen in the game. So of course, I want my team to make it. And even if I knew they were going to get blown, I still want my team to make it. Because what you guys are all forgetting when you say stupid shit like that, you're forgetting the ride. You're forgetting.
That's it.
As a Michigan fan, even though you lost, you got to enjoy every single game this year because they never lost.
Correct.
You're for TCU, any kid who went to TCU this past year, they get to say, "Oh, that was the year we beat Michigan in the college football playoffs. That was the year that we were Big 12 champs or regular season champs. That was the year we beat." I remember that year. You're gonna have half that student body claiming that they were at the game beating Michigan. Meanwhile, none of them were there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna lie and say, "Yeah, I was at that game. It was crazy. Me and my buddies." Come on, man. Don't take that away. Don't lose that. Those kids have that for the rest of their lives. Max Duggan has that game for the rest of his life. Every one of those seniors. Everyone on that team, they get to own that game for the rest of their lives. Hell, shit, Michigan gets to own that game. And whatever happens to Michigan next year, if it happens positively, you can put your finger on that game and say, they said they never want to let that happen again. So don't take away that stuff. Don't take away the whole season of excitement and fun and holy shit moments to just say, they didn't belong there. Oh, man, you're missing out on all the fun.
And now that that game's 2 weeks old for me, you can enjoy the ride a little bit more than you could that night.
At the very least, you can say, man, it sucked, but it was historic, man. And I was part of something special. I know we always jokingly bust your balls about that App State game, but that's historic. You were there. Yeah. Even now, I bet when you tell the story, you kind of bow your head with a half smile.
Yeah. And I was
like, oh man, it was crazy, but I was there. But it was crazy because it's history. It's a holy shit moment. Don't diminish. And what do you always follow that up with? Man, they played great the rest of the season and won their bowl game.
Right. Right. Yeah, they beat T-Bone Florida in a bowl game.
It was a springboard for them moving forward. Don't take that away, man, because that's the fun. The whole season is what's the fun. It's not just, hey, every team wants to win the Super Bowl, but it's not just about the Super Bowl. You're missing out on everything you did leading up to the Super Bowl. Only one team gets to win the Super Bowl, but other teams can enjoy their season.
Well, that's what I was saying too about a couple people about the college. There's 130 teams, and to be the Final Four is it's awesome.
It's elite. Don't take that away.
Yeah,
don't take that away from them. That's when they argue. They shouldn't.
To all 4 of them.
Should they have not been there to beat Michigan? Does that not count?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Well,
would Michigan have put up a better fight and possibly beat Georgia? I think so. I know it would have been a better game, and I think they could have beat them because most of the season I thought Michigan was probably the best team in the country.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen that way. Yeah. And it's a better story that TCU won. It's not a better national championship game, so we lose in that. But man, we get to hold on to that wow, what a crazy game.
One more thing, and then we could go to NFL.
Yes.
All these people that are talking about Alabama should be in, Tennessee should be in, but How about Penn State?
They had 2 losses.
Phenomenal year and lost to 2 teams in the playoff.
Right.
You're gonna just
2 playoff teams.
You're gonna skip over them.
They beat everybody else in their way. They won their bowl game.
Sure did.
You're absolutely right. And that's why I said, like, why not Tennessee? Tennessee actually beat Alabama.
A fucking joke.
Why not Tennessee? Tennessee rolled in their playoff game.
I got to tell you, some of these guys on ESPN, they got to cut this in half. They're awful.
It's just ridiculous because, the whole season is not about any real college football fan will tell you what your number one goal is to win your conference. You want conference championship.
Absolutely.
Because there's only one national champion. So you want a conference championship because that you can hold on to. You get a banner.
And you still got a ring. You got a banner. You get a banner. Absolutely.
Yes. So to diminish that, to me, is a sin. I really do think it's a sin. Even if you look at Kansas State loses, gets blown out by Alabama, but they got that Big 12 championship banner. They get to hold on to that. You don't get to take that away. That's fun. Those kids, and not just those players, but those students, they get that for that year.
Do you remember who John Jansen is? Played tackle for the Redskins a long time.
Yeah.
He was a Michigan All-American. He does radio, and he does some pre- and post-game stuff, for a TV show after. When they were going through the run, they're 11-0. They're going to Columbus the next week, and you could see him just want to hit somebody because he goes, "You get one of these. When you win a Big Ten championship, Michigan, you get one of these." Like that's 25 years ago they won a national championship game. That's still that, like you said about TCU. That team comes back 20 years from now.
Yes,
and that's what you got, man. It's
the Colin Cowards and the Stephen A. Smiths and those guys. You're not getting it because you're not thinking locally enough. You're not thinking about those kids at that school, on that team, and just the student body in general of what they got, whether it was Cincinnati last year or TCU this year or Michigan winning a Big Ten championship. Like
back to back,
you're missing the forest for the trees. Like you're missing the fact that those kids got that stuff. It's not just the championship.
And that's why they need better college analysts on these shows because these guys don't get it. Okay. I know the Bengals don't get an AFC North ring and show. It's not the NFL, dude. It's a separate situation.
Absolutely. Totally different. It's totally different. That's why the college game day guys don't talk like that.
No, that's right.
The Herb Streets, Desmond Howard,
Pat McAfee,
the guys who never won national championship but won conference championships, they understand.
Exactly.
Of course you want to win it. And of course that's the end goal. But don't diminish.
That's right.
Don't diminish what happens along the way. That's a sin. It's a sin to take that away.
All right. Congrats to Georgia. And then, we're both sad because
and they're already favorites going into next season.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
They got Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, I think, 3, 4, 5.
It's insane. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you actually saw the rankings. Florida State was up there at 6.
6. Yeah, I did.
I think I don't know if that's fair or not, but I do think they'll be even better than they were this year, which was improved. So I'm looking forward to that.
The Big Ten East. Although I don't know how long that's going to last. I think maybe
USC and UCLA aren't coming yet, right?
No, one more year. I think so. I think next year's the last year of that shit.
Yeah.
And the SEC West, man, crazy. Although Georgia's in the East and they won it back-to-back years, so who knows? But maybe that's why they won it because it's an easier path.
Yeah.
Anyway, NFL in the rearview mirror, Week 18 done. Real quick, we'll run over a couple games here.
Saturday we'll just hit the games that really mattered.
Saturday night in a snooze fest for most of it. The Jaguars escape with the AFC South beating the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I was out at a drinking establishment. Yeah, watching that one, and I'm like, oh, this is brutal. Like one team can't throw it, the other team is failing at throwing it. But you know what? Go ahead.
I was at my buddies on the couch. I'm going, I better either stop drinking or sleep here, or this game's got to get better. It's just awful.
It was rough.
Oh my God.
It was a rough watch. But in the end, what matters most is, by the way, dude, did you see the play? You know what I'm talking about. Is it me or was that hand coming forward? That should have been an incomplete pass.
100%.
I don't understand what happened there.
I don't either.
I'm watching. I'm saying that's clearly his arm is clearly coming forward.
I have no idea.
This was one of the clearest ones ever, and they called it a scoop and score. I'm like, did anybody even review it? Was it reviewed? Because I was out, so I couldn't hear what was being said. Did they review it?
Yeah, they did. They did review it.
This is what makes you think the fix is in sometimes, man. Because, I mean, his arm was totally coming forward. I mean, I think the ball even had a little spiral on it. It was bizarre.
It was alarming. I agree.
It was one of those things that make you go, I mean, like,
I was with some guys Sunday, and they were like, they said they're like, Are we like out of my like what the fuck?
It felt like the fix was in. Yeah, it felt like the fix.
That's what
was
they
in.
said. They said,
It really did.
That's why with this DraftKings shit, like.
Well, like, I don't know. I don't know for gambling reasons, but I think that. Listen, just a theory. I don't know anything. Just a theory. I think the league looks at it as Jacksonville being in the playoffs is way more interesting than like I don't know Anthony Brown quarterbacking.
Josh Dobbs, yeah,
Josh Dobbs, right? Anthony Brown was a different game. I was like, who the hell's this guy? Oh, that was the Baltimore game. But we'll get into that in a minute. But the Jags win. They're in.
Congrats. And me and you were on the Peterson Lawrence train in August, and I'm glad.
Correct.
We got something right there.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots on an absolute roller coaster ride from the word go this year. You was about the whole ride up and get eliminated week 18 with a chance to win and go in against an emotional Buffalo Bills team. Now, another thing you can't write a script about.
Oh my
the
God.
Opening kickoff for a touchdown
insane.
for the Bills at home. Absolutely goosebump worthy.
Dude, I actually turned to the person I was with and I said, you can tell me there's no God? Yeah, tell me there's no God.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. That's just so cool.
Amazing.
It's crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah. You can totally feel the energy in the place. You can feel the emotion around the place. But, we talked last week and we said, hey, you want to know what the best thing to help somebody out if they're grieving? Get back on routine. Get back to work. This is what you and I would have to do. We get back to work. And guess what? It was emotional at first. The kickoff return makes it even more crazy. But guess what those guys did the rest of the time? They got to work. They weren't thinking about their friend other than to say, hey, let's play hard for him.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you 4 or 5 plays in, they're not thinking about, DeMar Hamlin anymore. They're like, got a fucking job to do, man. I want to get killed by the guy in front of me.
Right.
So that's the power of routine. Like, get back to it. Get back to work. Life is for the living. Get to it. Not that Hamlin was dead, but
great news on him. He's released from the hospital.
Out of the hospital.
Therapy starts for him. Road to recovery fully, hopefully. And a week and a half ago, absolute horror show. And thank God it's been.
We can maybe start asking, can he play again? Interesting enough. Can he play again?
Maybe sooner than later.
Would be really nice to see.
I have a statement and then a question for you. So hear me out.
Sure.
The Finns squeak into the playoffs. They beat the Jets in an ugly game. Your thoughts watching this game? What were your feelings going through? Did you wanted to knock them out of the playoffs, obviously, but like what did you see anything offensively besides Garrett Wilson that you can take going forwards here?
Oh, I see a lot of things offensively, but you don't have a quarterback as far as the Jets go. You don't have a quarterback. Yeah. So I read today that they're willing to more or less do anything, and that Derek Carr would be considered a small fish compared to what they're shopping for.
Really?
I heard a name thrown out there today. I'm not even sure if I like it, but it says
Aaron
something.
Rodgers?
Nope. It says something to me. If it's true, if the rumors are true, it says something to me about what Joe Douglas is thinking, what Aaron and what Robert Saleh think about this team. I heard the name Matthew Stafford thrown out there.
I told you the Rams might be.
Now, if you think about it, if McVay, because McVay is talking about being done, Stafford's already got his ring. The Rams are in shambles. We were a year ahead of pace.
Yes, we were.
We knew this was going to happen, but we were a year too early because they won the Super Bowl and then fell apart like a cheap suit. So there may be a fire sale. If McVay goes, it may be time for a fire sale. If Matthew Stafford is available, I got to be honest with you, I'd be hard pressed to say no, because if they
you got to see what kind of shape that arm's in too, though, dude.
You do, and all that'll be fleshed out. There'll be physicals and all that kind of stuff that'll have to happen, of course. But it would be interesting because other than the quarterback position, 1 or 2 offensive linemen, and this team is complete. This is a top 5 defense in the league. Could you use more? Of course, you could always use more. But like you have more than enough on defense, as they've shown throughout the season. You get a quarterback and you get 1 or 2 offensive linemen. Mekhi Becton lost like 40, 50 pounds. Elijah Vera Tucker is like, I will absolutely be ready for the season. You get a center. I tell you what, man.
Breece Hall should be ready to go too by camp.
Breece Hall will be ready.
Yeah.
He was averaging over 5 yards per carry. Now, some of that has to do with the offensive line. So when he gets hurt, the offensive line all gets hurt, and the running game sucks. But for the game itself, I saw a team that didn't quit. I saw a team that was still playing hard. You got Sauce Gardner, who PFF has as the highest rated corner in the whole league, not just rookies, all of the whole league. So there's a team that played hard, didn't give up, played right down to the end. So I like that. That says a lot to me about Robert Saleh too. He kept those guys playing really hard, not giving up. But if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. It's just simple as that. You can't win if you don't have a quarterback.
I know.
As you're seeing with Miami, Miami couldn't be stopped when Tua was healthy and they're clicking, and then they could barely get 9 points on the board, without him. So
one statement, and then we'll go on. This year, I think more than any year that I can remember, the season just feels so long, bro. These guys are all banged up. Now we're going into the playoffs. Dude, 3 teams don't have their starting quarterbacks. Waddle and Hill are limping off the field. Mm-hmm. Fucking Dalvin Cook got hurt last week. And I know it could happen at any point, but god damn it, man. It's like, and they're going to go to 18 one day soon. I got my balls. Like, they're going.
And you know what's the funny thing is they'll remove another preseason game. Veterans aren't playing in those games anyway, so that doesn't save them anything. It's a really long season. So now if you got 3
and nobody
extra
gives a shit from August to January anyway. It's a different world.
Well, if you listen to people that were pissed about the national championship game, we shouldn't even play the regular season. So,
oh, by the way, real quick, I know we're all over the place today, but I love it.
Who cares?
Our best shows are like that. Mike Florio's the cocksucker that was saying that 18 playoff shit. I didn't want to text it. Dude,
he's
at what point does NBC have enough? The guy just throws shit around.
Yeah. And listen, I'm sure he's hearing it from somebody, so it's a possibility.
And Schefter's the guy who ratted him out. Schefter threw him under the bus, which was awesome.
What do you mean?
Schefter said, well, unlike guys on NBC, that was never a thing, an 8-game playoff. So I don't know where he got that from. Network on network crime, Peter. Network on network drama. It's great.
Nobody likes Florio.
And I'm a Schefter guy anyway, but anyway.
He's a prick.
I want to stand up here and give a standing ovation for Mike Tomlin. This might be,
oh my God, his best coaching job.
9-8 with an absolute young, inexperienced team all around. Hard division. Tomlin, you know what? I know my brother gives him shit all the time. I go, Brad, you got to stop. You got to stop. Yeah. I know he hasn't won a playoff game in 5 years or whatever it was, but that's because Ben was getting old. You had a lot of drama guys on your team, Bell, Brown, etc. This is so different. And listen, they get 2 linemen, they get another playmaker, and maybe get some holes on defense. This team's good for a while, man.
No, and to your point, you're 100% right. To your point, maybe the most impressive thing of all is that they. After that point where they were 4-8 or whatever the hell they were, 3-7.
Yeah,
they got better every game.
That's
through the end of the season. That last game, Kenny Pickett. It's like, wow, we have ourselves a quarterback. Folks.
Light bulbs on.
Yeah, timing, things on time. Hit that back foot, boom, fired a ball. Great placement. I mean, he threw one pass. I was explaining to somebody you see that. You don't make that throw in college football. The guy, it was a tight end running a seam route.
Yeah, I know exactly which one. The Hayward's brother. Yep.
The linebacker. Yes, the linebacker was right on him. But you're in an NFL quarterback, you throw that ball right past that linebacker's ear hole, and he threw it a little higher, and tight end had to go up and get it. And I'm like, that's a professional. I go, you got yourself a quarterback.
So I heard that they're going to move on from their current OC, and I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yes, Matt Canada is terrible.
I have a name.
Who do you got?
If he doesn't get a head coaching job, if I'm Tomlin.
Mike LaFleur?
Frank Wright.
Well, listen, I'm hoping. So one thing we neglected to say about the Jets and Mike LaFleur have parted ways. Frank Reich, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I would love to see him. Kubiak was another name that was thrown out there, but he's in retirement. You have to talk him out of that, but he has a relationship with Saleh, so there's a possibility of that. But, I mean, Frank Reich, of course, when you throw the whole Nick Foles stuff in there.
Correct.
What he did with Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. I think a lot of what Frank Reich did goes under the radar. I think he's fantastic. I mean, for that team, if I'm him, I probably would rather be with the Steelers than with the Jets.
And this isn't a dig about the Jets, but you said it last week too. The Jets aren't exactly a steady, sturdy organization. They haven't been. They're getting closer, no doubt about it. Douglas, I think, and like you said, the guys that put on Saleh, I'm up in the air on Salah right now. I'm a little bit calmer about firing him than I was.
I'm
a couple
75-25 on him. Yeah, I'm 75-25.
I might be a little 65-35.
Yeah.
But, you can't argue with the Tomlin, Pittsburgh stability pick.
Well, more than that.
And they already had their quarterback set. With the Jets, you don't know what they're going to do.
That's what I was going to say. If you're Frank Reich, you have options, dude. You're not like –
oh, dude,
you're not Mike LaFleur.
His phone probably has to stop ringing.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the Jets or the Steelers, I mean, Kenny Pickett and the weapons that they have there, and then you throw in the history, the stability, Tomlin ain't going anywhere. You got nothing to worry about with that. Right. I mean, it's fucking no-brainer. Plus, you don't have Buffalo, who's not going anywhere.
Correct.
You don't have them in your division.
Correct.
So, you have a legitimate road. I mean, even with Cincinnati. It's Cincinnati.
But I think Baltimore could be a couple years, maybe a year away from being mediocre now. They got a lot of question marks on that team.
Huge question marks. Lamar Jackson being the largest one of all. By the way, you've been making statements. I'm going to make a statement here real quick. Folks, if you like brown liquor, bourbon, and you're not drinking Wild Turkey 101, I don't know what to tell you. It's $28 a bottle. It might be the best bourbon out there. I mean, Wild Turkey 101, folks. We should get a sponsorship for it. It's fantastic. I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, you're talking, I'm taking a sip, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of burnt oak and butterscotch and vanilla and a little bit of cinnamon on the back end here. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah. Where were we?
Listen, there's only 32 NFL jobs. I understand that. But if you're Frank Reich, do you want to go fix a mess in Houston or Arizona?
Or Carolina? He just interviewed with Carolina.
That job's not awful. We'll get to that in a little while. But
you got no quarterback.
Do you want to be OC in Pittsburgh for a year or two and see what other jobs open up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. That's what I'm saying. Would you rather be the head coach with Sam Darnold? Or would you rather be the offensive coordinator with Kenny Pickett and the Steelers? And then you're in a position like Sean Payton is now, where you get the pick of the litter. You get the job you want. So,
yep. Let things cool off after the Colt thing.
Smart.
Get a year or two, and then boom.
Be smart. Yeah.
Real quick, we just got to say it because it's astonishing. The Houston Texans blow the first pick by playing their fucking balls off.
Did you see what Lovie Smith's quote?
No.
It's the best win I ever had for the Chicago Bears.
Oh, my God.
Because he was the head coach of Chicago. But he was up there and he said, because they were like, did you think about it? Like, you're losing the number one pick. He's like, how do I walk into a locker room?
No, he's right.
You go to win the game, man.
He's right. He's right.
Some of these guys aren't going to be here next year. Some of these guys are fighting for contracts. I'm going to tell them to lose.
I've had enough of Lovie Smith as a head coach at any level at this point, though.
Yeah, but I'm with him 100%.
I am too. I am too. I'm just sick of looking at his gray face.
Oh, enough said. Yeah, come on. We said right away, like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, again, 2 years in a row with this nonsense.
It's bad hires. Although we actually thought that what the previous dude did a good job.
David Culley, yep.
I thought he did a really good job. So, but to be honest with you, to be fair to both of those guys, they both had the Texans playing really hard football right down to the last.
They did
literally the last second of each season. So kudos to both of them for at least because listen, let's be honest, they're both years they're barren of any talent.
Listen, they're better men and leaders than maybe we gave them credit for or knew, but the fucking organization did nobody a favor here.
No.
The Cincinnati Bengals win the North. They played, I think, your buddy Anthony, somebody who said the Ravens.
Anthony Brown from Oregon. I had to look it up, dude. When I have to look you up to see where you went to, and then when I see it, I still don't remember.
It doesn't click right away. You're like, holy shit! Yeah. Like whoa!
Like when you're really pulling these guys out of your ass. I mean, he looked good at times too, Anthony Brown. He looked pretty good at times, but yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. 2 years in a row, Baltimore, no Lamar Jackson down the stretch. Last year, it cost them a playoff spot. This year, they're going to the playoffs, but you still don't know if he's even playing. So,
and he wants, and
he's begging for $50 million a year. He insists on $50 million and guaranteed contract. And they're like, dude, you don't play.
Yeah, no thanks. Eagles win the East. Jalen Hurts rusty to get it done.
Hurting. He was banged up.
Yep.
Sirianni said as much after the game that the guy was hurting, but they needed to win that game because they maybe more than any team they needed the 2 weeks for him to recover, for Jalen Hurts to recover. So, and let's be honest, Giants didn't play anybody.
No.
Put 2 touchdowns on the board, which made it interesting late.
that fucking team plays hard.
They play hard, man. I may have a little something to say about them later on, but they play hard. Got to give Daboll some credit. But yeah, but the Eagles come away with the win, which we expected.
Two more quickly. Our buddy, Brandon Staley and the Chargers. This guy, Vegas even knew that, that the Chargers shouldn't play their starters. They had Denver as a favorite.
I know. This
guy plays his starters and gets 3 more guys hurt.
Now, are they out? I think they're all playing.
Mike Williams has been hurt in and out all year. He's the biggest enigma in the friggin' league because when he's in the team, that Chargers team is
Bosa?
So much. Bosa, and there's another guy that got banged up too. I think Eckler left with a hand or a lineman left with something.
Those two guys specifically, they have a history of injuries. Like, even if you want to play most of your guys, dude.
Playing for a half?
Be smart.
Dude, he's unreal. Anyway, Broncos beat them, but they're security, and they're playing Saturday night. We'll get into the schedule in a minute.
Yes.
And one more.
Listen, I just want to say the only reason that Brandon Staley even still has a job is because of one guy. It's Herbert.
Yeah.
It's the only reason he still has a job.
Yep. Our adopted team, the Detroit Lions, go into Lambeau, do the unthinkable.
It's so crazy.
I think Sauce Gardner has probably locked up the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
But I think Hutch maybe could argue a co-defensive rookie of the year. And it's 9.5
regardless
sacks,
of the award, you have a stud.
Oh my God.
And you have a stud on the front line. I mean, he's a baller, dude. And you got to love having him there. He's very much like a JJ Watt type of player.
He's a Dan Campbell duplicate on
totally. Yes. And it is so funny to me. So, I don't know how often you watch, but like Colin Cowherd has his every Monday he has where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong.
Yeah.
I got to give him some credit on this one. He said where Colin was wrong. He brought up Dan Campbell. He said, listen, I thought it was a clown show when he first took the job, which you and I don't necessarily disagree with.
Right.
His first press conference was a little cringy. Yeah, a little cringy, not going to lie. But he said, listen, after a rough first year and even a rough beginning of season, those players will kill themselves for this guy. And even he said, I find myself rooting for the Detroit Lions week in and week out as the season was coming to an end. And I'll go as far. This is him saying this. This is Colin Cowherd saying, I'll go as far to say, I wish they were in the playoffs instead of some of these other teams that are. They're a way more interesting team to watch. And it's a fact.
He's right.
Listen, say what you want to say. That defense got better as the season went on. That offensive line is probably top 5 in the league. And Jared Goff, whatever people want to say, you and I were probably, and me probably a little more than you, but both of us were saying, cut the guy a little slack. He's not one of the top 5 quarterback in the league. But are we just going to dismiss the fact that he took the Rams to a Super Bowl that year? It's not like he put up shit numbers that year. Like, it was real. Does he need some help? Yes. But boy, look what happens when you put a really good offensive line in front of him. He didn't throw an interception the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, or maybe he had 1 interception the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. So, and that game was cold. He's a California guy, and he goes out there and throws a couple touchdown passes and beats Green Bay and puts Aaron Rodgers on the retirement list. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, man.
There's going to be a lot of money coming in for the Lions to win the North next year. A lot of money.
You may very well be right about that, and I am fascinated. As much as we said it last year, how they brought in a couple guys, I think I can't even believe I'm saying that the Detroit Lions might be a destination that guys want to go to. Certainly not because of the locale, but I think there's going to be even more guys that want to play for Dan Campbell. I really, really do, man. And give Aaron Glenn some credit. That defense was significantly different after Thanksgiving than they were before Thanksgiving. That was a team that was giving up 35 points a game before Thanksgiving, and they stopped Green Bay. They stopped everybody. They played everybody, either won or kept the games close all the way down the stretch. Aaron Glenn deserves some credit for that.
And I was just going to say that's why he's getting some interviews now too.
Absolutely, and deservedly so.
Wild card weekend.
Hey, I just wanted to bring up one. I wanted to because I hear because of the season's over, and Chicago Bears have the first number 1 pick in the draft because of what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Houston going for 2 and getting it and losing that first pick overall. Mike Tannenbaum came on ESPN and said what he would do, because he likes Justin Fields, but you have a new coach and you have the first pick in the draft. What he would do was see if he could package Justin Fields and send it to a team, maybe the Jets, who bite your tongue, you son of a bitch. I don't want that to happen, but maybe the Texans, maybe Tennessee, who knows? Because he's like, I just think this kid is a shot. All these people, I hear these comments, Justin Fields, transformational player. This is the quote I hear, transformational player. And I've been saying this for, I don't even know how long. I can't take it anymore. What are you people talking about? He is a running back. So let me just back it up with some stats here real quick. He had two games this whole season where he threw for more than 200 yards. Wow. 200. Wow. Okay. We had Mikey Noviola had more games than that. Mikey Noviola had a high school kid had a 300-yard passing game with 3 touchdowns. Justin Fields is transformational. And you're like, well, so what? Well, here's so what. He also had 2 games where he threw for less than 100 yards. He had as many 200-plus games as he did sub-100 games. Give me a break.
Wow.
4 times this year he threw for under 150 yards. Under 150 yards in an NFL where all the rules are set up for you to throw the ball all over the friggin' place.
Holy smokes.
15 times, Mr. Mobility, right? Mr. Mobility, 15 times he got sacked in the last 3 games. Last 3 games, 15 times. I think it was 6 or 7 times against the Detroit Lions in when they played them. 8 straight losses and 11 of the last 12. Transformational player? And then I always hear the people that are like, well, he had shit to work with. Did you forget that they traded for Chase Claypool? Like, do you forget that? They already had one guy, I can't remember his name, like Looney or something like that. Who's
Mooney.
Decent receiver, pretty decent receiver. Not an A+, I get that. There's not too many A+s out there. But Mooney was a pretty good receiver, and then you get Chase Claypool. So you got 2 B receivers, and you only have 2 games where you're throwing for over 200, not 250, not 300. Over 200.
And the tight end got a lot of love there too. Cole Kmet, he did nothing really.
And the highest attempts he had in any game this year was 28. Not one time did they let him throw more than 30 times.
Wow.
Like, come on, man. Let's just stop. Stop with the transformational player. I hope so. These statistics and that comment about how great Justin Fields is leads me to the game that we're going to play after we're going to do a little game called Trick or Treat. It's not Halloween, but we're going to do a game called Trick or Treat after we preview the wildcard games. And this is why I came up with it, because I'm like, you think Chicago's so smart? You think it's so great that they have the first pick? Well, let's talk about it real quick. But before we get to that, let's do our preview of the wildcard.
Saturday, late afternoon, Seattle at San Francisco for the 3rd time.
When your head coach, Pete Carroll, is asked, like, how you guys feeling about making the playoffs, and he's all excited, and then he follows it up with ... But we have to play the San Francisco 49ers. It's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
That's probably not a good sign. He doesn't sound terribly confident.
I'm going to have something to say about this game in a little while.
I may too.
Saturday evening.
I think it's a tough spot. I just want to say, I think that's a really tough spot.
Yeah.
This would be akin to TCU beating Michigan. I mean, if Seattle were to pull this off, this is TCU beating Michigan. That's how big an upset it would be to me. I did want to say this, though, as I'm watching Seattle play last week, because it was kind of an interesting game as they were playing the Rams down the stretch. Good God almighty, does Geno Smith throw a pretty ball?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I don't know. He must have they measure the hands. He must have 12-inch hands. I don't know that I've ever seen him throw a ball that flutters, even a little. It's the tightest fucking spiral I've ever seen. He throws a beautiful football, man. Maybe he might throw the prettiest ball in the whole league.
And when he drops back and throws the deep ball, he cocks that thing back like he's throwing a ball from like right field to third base.
It's a fucking hand cannon.
Like, oh, boom, man.
Dude. I look and I say, man, the Jets are just a fucking cancer. Like, you can really make an argument that this dude could have been a real ball. He had the highest quarterback rating in the whole goddamn NFL this year.
Yeah, but you know what? I love making fun of the Jets with you, but how long are you gonna wait? Like, it's like
no. I'm not saying they should. I just mean him having to have started with the Jets. Fuck them.
Right,
like if he landed, if he landed in, I mean, it might have been better for him to land in Cleveland than with the Jets. So that's all I mean. Like the Jets are just a curse.
That makes sense.
That's all. I don't mean go get him. I don't mean for the Jets to go get him.
No, I know that.
I just mean like, God, he started with the Jets, and what a crime. Because you watch him now and you're like, maybe this guy, because he put up epic numbers at West Virginia. I mean, epic numbers. This guy might have been really good if he wasn't a Jet first. It hurts me to say it. Go ahead.
The black cloud continues.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. I had a friend come into my work today and say, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "Bob, I'm used to this, man." The fact that I even got a little more than a half a season out of this was gravy. You kidding me?
You went into November this year for the draft talk instead of September.
Man, this is how it goes.
The Chargers at the Jaguars Saturday night.
Fascinating game, dude. This game
Duval
is in Jacksonville. We were talking about that Jacksonville game against Tennessee. Listen, I recognize that Tennessee wanted to win that game because it could have been a playoff spot for them too. But Trevor Lawrence didn't play very well. He looked sketchy. So that scares me, and I'm always concerned. Now I understand that Justin Herbert is it's the first time playoffs for him as well. But I look at him as one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, one of the top 3, 4 at most quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
So 5, 6. I hesitate. I'm not saying this properly. I always worry about first time quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The moment is huge. It's just, and the play, the speed of play increases by like 20%.
Although I'll take Peterson over Staley any day of the week.
Oh,
and he's been there.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Correct.
And you can also
we don't trust Staley as it is.
We don't. I certainly don't. I trust Herbert. I don't trust Staley. And you can also add this, at least could help, how many huge games in college Trevor Lawrence played in.
Yeah.
National championship games,
true.
Playoff games. Like, he's been on the big stage
Conference
before.
championship games.
So it's not so much. The pressure of the game, sure. But to me, it's more about the speed picks up. So if you were struggling last week against Tennessee, wait till you see how aggressive and intense, I keep wanting to say San Diego, the Chargers are this week. It just is different level. So that's I don't worry about it with Herbert. I worry about it a little bit with Trevor Lawrence. That's all.
They didn't play this year yet, right? Against each other? Because every other matchup there's been.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Sunday afternoon, early for the third time, Miami at Buffalo.
Yeah, no Tua. Not that it would have swayed me.
I don't think Teddy either, right?
Tough spot. It's a tough spot. And as you mentioned earlier, you got Waddle's a little banged up. Both him and Hill at different points during the last game were limping off the field against the Jets. I think it's a really tough spot.
This is going to be ugly early, I think.
It very well could be. Now, if it's not, I hear rumors of like McDaniel being on the hot seat if they lose. I'm like, are you fucking crazy?
No, I don't think hot seat. I think I heard that if Peyton wants the job,
with Tom Brady coming along with it.
Yeah, I know, dude. You're gonna upset your fucking next 10 years for 1 year.
I think that's just shitty because I'm not totally sold on McDaniel, but say what you want. They played hard in that last game to make it into the playoffs. When he did have his team healthy, he had Tua looking as good as anybody in the league.
And they played hard all year too. When you're running out guys that shouldn't be playing football, like,
of course,
it
totally seems like they're down to their third quarterback.
Yeah, and Teddy isn't exactly, I don't even think he's an NFL quarterback either at this point, to be honest with you. So I think
when I heard that, I'm like, oh my god, that seems.
Yeah, I think that's. I like him, McDaniel. So I think that's.
Yeah.
Middle game Sunday, repeat of Christmas Eve, the New York Giants at the Minnesota Vikings.
I definitely have something to say about this game later on.
Same.
Yeah. That game came down to a last second field
60-yarder.
60-yarder to end the game, win the game for the Vikings. So, and it's in the same place. So it's not like what's great about this game. It's not like the Giants are going to go into this game and be intimidated. You know what I mean? They're probably walking into this game with
a little confidence,
pretty significant amount of confidence. Yeah. Like, hey man, we were a 60-yard field goal away from beating these motherfuckers. Like, I think they got to feel pretty good about that. But on the other side of it is you have Daniel Jones, who's never played in a playoff game before, and he does not have, unlike Trevor Lawrence, he does not have that collegiate history of playing in big games on big stages. So
Duke isn't exactly the big house.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not exactly Death Valley in Clemson. So yeah, so there's that side of it. So I mean, say what you want, man. You and I thought that the Giants were winning with like smoke and mirrors most of the season, but they kept doing it. So like at some point, you just gotta say, hey, it's a fucking tough team. So
Kirk always scares me in big games. He shits his pants.
Absolutely.
Cook being banged up really hurts them. Although Madison's a good backup, but I think he's a good fill-in back, not a 25 carry.
Yeah, he's not out though, right? That one Cook's
not out. He's not out, but he's banged up. But
yeah.
And listen, Justin Jefferson's fantastic, but we've seen other teams shut him down. So
absolutely.
And we were on
needs to step up. Adam Thielen is the one who needs to step up. He's been a lot quieter this year. Hasn't had the same numbers. It might be wise to try to get him involved early to bring the attention towards his side, and that might open Justin Jefferson for some big shots because he's a sweet player, man.
Yeah. Baltimore and Cincinnati for the second time in a row and the third time overall.
Yeah, this is one of those games, matchups matter. So like somehow, some way, Cincinnati has won 3 straight games against Kansas City. Like they're 3-0 with Joe Burrow against Kansas City. The other side of that in this game is that for whatever reason, like Burrow and Cincinnati struggle offensively against Baltimore. Like they kind of have his number a little bit, or at least enough to keep it close. So like, your initial instinct is like, oh, well, they got Lamar probably not playing. I think Huntley is playing instead of Anthony Brown from Oregon.
Yeah.
But still, you're just like, so it seems like it should be kind of like an easy walk through win for Cincinnati. But for whatever reason, Baltimore is just tough for them. It's just a tough matchup. It's just one of those things. It's hard to explain. You know what I'm saying? So I would kind of expect this to be a little closer than most people think. Maybe Cincinnati pulls away late, but I'd be willing to bet that this is probably a pretty close game through 3 quarters.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's just how it's gone for the last couple years. It's just odd, man. This is what's so interesting, especially with the NFL. Like matchups really do matter. Like who you match up well against this team, but another team who technically is inferior. Personnel, scheme, whatever the case may be, it doesn't always go that way. So, and this is one of those times, and that's what makes it fun. This is one of those games, especially considering what went down, a couple weeks ago with the Buffalo game. Be careful, be on upset alert here. Cincinnati on upset alert. Just saying.
Especially too, because everyone's like on this Bengal bandwagon. Usually when that happens, it's like
I'm on it too. But I gotta look at and acknowledge what I see, and that is that Baltimore, for whatever reason, makes it really difficult on Cincinnati. So we'll see.
Monday night. Do you like the Monday night playoff game?
I do not. I was gonna say, dude, why did they do this? They put the winner of that game on a short schedule. I don't like that shit.
Yeah, I don't either. Cowboys at Buccaneers. These guys let off the season playing, and now one of the teams are going to end.
Yeah, I have something. I believe I do. Oh, I thought I had something to say about this one.
Do we have the same 3 fucking games?
We might. I only got 2. I only have 2 games.
Oh, I got 3. Okay.
Okay. So, I would have taken. This would have been one where I took Tampa. Listen, I don't think Tampa's what they've been in the last couple seasons, but they're a little healthier right now than they've been pretty much the whole season. I still think they got some issues defensively. I still think they got some issues, but it looks like Mike Evans is healthy. It looks like the O-line is a little bit better. It's still not great, but it's a little bit better. And listen, Tom Brady's fucking Tom Brady. You know what I mean? If you were just going to go, which quarterback do you believe in? At 45 fucking years old.
It's crazy.
It's insane, but yeah, it's just it is absolutely crazy.
You want to bet right now?
Do I want to bet right now? No, I want you to do like the top 5 coaching ranks. You had some coaching ranks. Or do you want to do the trick or treat first? You want to do trick or treat first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Trick or treat first. So basically, I'm going to throw a question or statement out at you, and you're going to tell me if this is a trick or if this is a treat. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. All right, so the Bears have the first overall pick in the draft. Is that a trick or is it a treat? Because at least what we're hearing is they're not going to draft a quarterback.
I think it's a treat because you hold all the cards.
So this is one of those where I'm like, to me, this is a trick because I have no faith. The Bears don't exactly have the greatest history in drafts. They're not going to be picking a quarterback, so it's not this obvious take this guy. It might be a defensive
player.
player.
Get more picks, get more bodies. That's
what makes it tricky to me. It's a little bit more of a trick.
I think that's cheaty. I think
it's
that's
a little hard to get. It might be hard to get it right. Second one, trick or treat. Saleh keeps his job. I know for you this is a little more difficult.
I think it's a treat because I think they didn't quit for him. The quarterback nightmare from about Halloween on, no pun intended for the name of the game. Defense showed way more improvement, which is
he
his
clearly
expertise.
Put his stamp. Yeah, he clearly put his stamp on the defense.
I think if you get him a competent OC in a quarterback situation, I think they could be head to head with Miami in the going for second place in that division. I do. I think.
Yeah. To me, this was a treat also. And part of it was to me also because you're not landing Sean Payton. Like if you were to fire Robert Saleh, you're not getting Sean Payton. Sean Payton's not going there because you don't have that stability at quarterback. And then I look at the rest of the candidates and I'm like, none of them really jump off the page for me as like guys that I would be blown away with.
Right.
So,
like you want Dan Quinn, like
yeah. So another defensive coach.
Although he might go to Denver, which is great.
So if it's like an unknown guy who doesn't have a history, or a guy who at the very least has put his stamp on this team. This team is clearly Robert Saleh's team. They're hard-nosed. They play good defense. At the very least, his persona is on this team. So to me, keeping him, that's still a treat. The Denver Broncos head coaching position. Is it a trick or is it a treat?
Well, you're going into my game a little bit here. I think it's a slight treat. Because I don't know, like you've said this a couple times this year, Russ, you're not going to get that bad in 1 year. And the end of the year, he got better when Hackett was gone. He looked great in the last 2 weeks. He really did. A guy that we shouldn't get him out of the pocket, play action.
Yeah.
We praised their defense for about probably 14 out of the 18 weeks. Weapons galore. Great city, great football city. I think it's a slight treat, although the Russ isn't getting any younger either. That's what's holding me up a little bit there.
The Russ thing is the trick or treat in this.
Yeah.
Right? The defense is fantastic. Could you
imagine? He's the candy apple, as they say.
Dude, could you imagine how good the defense could have been if this team had any offense?
I know.
If the defense could have rested a little, if they could have gotten a couple first downs, like,
dude, seriously,
this could have been one of the best defenses, like, ever. Like, it really is. Really fantastic defense. It's the trick is in Russ. Like, do you believe, and this is where the coin toss is, do you believe that what you saw most of the season is who he is now? Or do you believe that you can get him back to who he historically has been?
Right.
So I don't know. That's where I think and we're going to talk about all the coaching jobs that are open. I think this is a treat. I think this coaching job is a treat because of all the ones that are out there. This is the one where I do like the quarterback the most.
Yeah.
I do feel like I have the best quarterback of them amongst the openings that we'll get to in a minute. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to skip number 4. I'm going to go right to number 5. Trick or treat. Geno Smith. Is Geno Smith is he tricking everybody or is he really the deal?
So I just said this to a buddy at work Tuesday, Monday, whatever the hell day was. I would not be shocked next year if Seattle goes 5-12. I wouldn't be shocked.
With Geno or without him?
With
Geno.
I would not be shocked at all. I think he might have just called lightning in a bottle. Listen, great story. I like the guy. Pete Carroll will be 73 next year, 74.
Yeah. Doesn't look it, but yeah.
Lockett's been banged up all year long.
Better?
Is that
Who looks better? Pete Carroll, because they're about the same age. Pete Carroll or Bill Belichick?
Pete Carroll, not even close.
For sure, right? Yeah. Trick or treat, Geno Smith.
Trick.
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm literally a coin toss on this one. Yeah. I genuinely don't know. He has looked so good this year, so good. But I just have a hard time just saying, yeah, this is who he is now. I genuinely don't know.
I know.
I genuinely don't know. Okay, last one, and we'll stick with the quarterbacks. Trick or treat, Daniel Jones.
Just that's it. Just Daniel Jones.
Is he the real deal now, or is he?
I've been on him. I've been on him all year.
That's why I asked, because in the beginning of the season, you're like, I still think he can be good.
I think he's.
So you've seen him for a season. Is he a trick or a treat?
I think he's proved even more to me, because now we have a little bit durability issues. He didn't get hurt this year. Fumbling issues, took care of the ball this year. Mm-hmm. Competent coach. We both like Dable a ton.
He might weigh a ton, but we like him a ton too.
Well, listen, don't make fun of the fellow. He's
got a beer belly.
He likes late night snacks.
He's a heavy set fella. What are you gonna do?
Leave him alone.
He's got the Andy Reid syndrome. Go ahead.
Jesus Christ. We talked about in the middle of the year about, like, do you keep Jones, you keep Barkley? You know, we could find running backs everywhere. Is Barkley special? Yeah, but he's also missed a ton of time. He missed 4 or 5 games this year. Jones, and I know I keep beating a dead horse in the audience. I apologize. I would like to see this guy with a fucking guy at wide receiver who we know who he is.
His best wide receiver right now.
Richie James?
No, I was going to say Hodgkins or Hodgins.
Right. So, yeah, tomato. It's
what was on the Buffalo Bills practice squad in November.
Oh, wow.
It's basically like his best wide receiver right now.
It's incredible.
It's crazy. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you a stat, or it's not even a stat, but I'm going to give you something that's going to sell you on treat, because I think you're on treat anyway, but I'm going to give it to you this. Go look at his pass attempts per game from start to finish.
Yeah.
Okay. In the beginning of the season, it was a little low. Gradually, as the season went on, more and more pass attempts per game.
You start taking the handcuffs off a little bit.
Dable believes in him more, has more faith in him. They're cutting him loose a little bit, just like you said. So if Dable believes in him, then I believe in him. So I'm calling him a treat.
When they started,
I don't think he's an A+. I'm not even sure he's top 10. But I think to your point, throw some more weapons at him. Get a couple guys on his team. Get him a tight end that's worth his shit.
Yeah.
And maybe he becomes a B+. I think he's kind of a B-, C+, B- guy right now. I think he could, with some more weapons and Dable, I think he could be a B+. And I think he can win a Super Bowl with a B+ quarterback. They did it with Eli, and he's B+ at best.
Baltimore won with Flacco, for Christ's sake. He's a C.
Flacco.
All you need to know about – yeah, sorry about that. All you
6
need to
degrees
know,
of New York Jets. Somehow it always comes back to
it's amazing. I hear. All you need to know about how Dable feels about Jones, when he comes off the field in the blowout against the Colts 2 weeks ago, and he's smiling like this with a bear hug.
That's it. Absolutely right. Hey, you wanted to go over the top you wanted to rank the coaching openings, so you want to do that right now? What are the openings?
I got 5. I got 5 right now. Subject
it's
to change,
a low
maybe.
year. If this is how it ends, now, it's a lower year.
Well, actually, there was like what, 8?
8. Yeah, and there's usually about 7. So this is a little on the low side this year.
So Houston, Denver, Carolina, Arizona, and Indianapolis. I ranked them 5 to 4.
Okay.
I'll kick off at 5. I think the worst opportunity is the Houston Texans. I think no quarterback yet. We were high on Mills, but he's kind of like leveled off maybe a little bit. Bad organization. We talked about them hiring 2 coaches in a row with nowhere to go. And they're really low on talent. Let's be honest. They don't have really – they have a couple of wide receivers, a corner. They got what – I don't know, man.
The only pushback I'll give you is this. They made a couple trades to bolster their draft, and they have the first pick as far as the possibility of quarterbacks, because we know Chicago, at least it looks like Chicago's not going to draft a quarterback. Now, they may trade out of that, but I don't know. I got to be honest with you. This draft class, I don't know how much I'd be willing to give up to move up to get what? Bryce Young, CJ Stroud?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that I look at either one of them as like locks to be my guy. Well, I like CJ Stroud, but I don't know to look at him as like a lock. So I'm not going to give up like 3 years of number 1 picks to move up to get CJ Stroud.
Will Levis.
And I like Will Levis. He's big, strong, cannon for an arm. But he played at Kentucky, and this year wasn't exactly like a statistics monster. I want to see Will Levis do some of the offseason stuff before I make a complete. My point just being, I think Houston has has the luxury of picking whatever they deem to be the best quarterback in the draft that they want, which is enticing for a new coach coming in.
Yeah.
If you're a Bryce Young guy, or if you're a CJ Stroud or a Will Levis guy, whoever you're and you can get him, and you got a 5-year window with that dude, at the very least, you're going to get 3 years. You're probably going to get 3 years because that's how long we give these rookie quarterbacks to figure shit out. That's enticing. Because if you look at the other jobs that we're going to talk about, they don't have that. So that's the only thing that I get. But dude, as far as the organization goes, the ownership, the weird ownership for and then the dearth of talent that's there. There's just not much to work with, especially early on. Now they're going to have money to work with because they're going to be under the cap and they're young and all this kind of shit. But all those things are downsides, but you do have that second pick, which is going to give you the opportunity to pick the quarterback of your choice. So
yeah,
and you're probably still going to stink this year, so which means you'll have a pretty high pick again next year.
Yeah, it's true too.
Anyway, but yeah, it's organizationally, they make the Jets look competent, so that's never a good sign.
Number 4, I got the Colts. No
Okay.
quarterback again. I think they're going to probably stop with this try to plug and play crap that they've been doing for the last 4 years.
So I don't know that that's true. Who do we like as their GM?
I think he's a pretty good GM.
Ballard, right?
Ballard, yeah.
Ballard came out yesterday, whatever the quote was, and he says, "There's no length we won't go to get our starting quarterback." Now, I don't know if that means in a draft or in some kind of trade.
I took that as like a long-term thing, but maybe not. Maybe you might be right.
If you're Derek Carr, does that job interest you? If you're Jimmy Garoppolo, does that job interest you?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
If I'm Carr though, I wouldn't put my phone down.
I gotta be honest
quickly.
with you. For me, if I'm Derek Carr, I'm being square here. I think the Jets is a more attractive job.
I agree with you.
Because I think I got way better weapons that are already in place. And frankly, a head coach who is there. You don't even know who the head coach is right now for the Colts.
I don't want to give away my thing either, but I think Carolina might have more weapons than the Colts have right now.
Oh, I agree with you totally. Oh, wholeheartedly.
Also, aging offensive line for the Colts, and they look bad.
That was probably the biggest disappointment of the year, right?
Dude,
like that was supposed to be their strength. Run the ball, great offensive line. They sucked.
Taylor banged up. That's not a great sign. And you know what helps with this?
But relatively stable organization. Like they don't do dumb shit, although the Jeff Saturday hiring could be questioned.
Irsay's a little off his rocker too.
But that was an interim job anyway. You know,
although if he were to give him the head job,
if he were to give him the job, then we can, give him the rock eyebrow thing. But
one more thing too about the Texans and the Colts, they got to be careful. They're really starting to fall really now behind the Jaguars because I think the Jaguars are young.
Oh, you got a potentially elite quarterback too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
You have a Super Bowl winning coach and a potentially top, at the very least, top 10, but maybe even a top 5 quarterback eventually. So yeah, you got to be on the ball. You can't make mistakes now. You don't have you don't have that wiggle room that you used to have.
Correct.
You had wiggle room for a long time, not anymore.
Yeah. Number 3, Arizona. Kyler out for a while. He needs a specific offensive mind for him, it seems. That's why they hired Kingsbury to begin with.
Is it the offensive mind or is it just a personality fit? And I asked you this because I genuinely don't know.
I think both. I think both.
Such a quirky fucking dude.
Man. I mean, they're not going to run. They're not going to have the offense that Staley has with Herbert in LA. It's impossible. You can't have him sit back in the no. But you have to have like a little creative offensive mind there. Defense stinks. J.J. Watt retired, so it got worse because he had a really good year anyway.
And the GM is out too, right? He stepped
GM's
aside
out,
too.
Health problems. He's out, and it's a hard.
He might have got fired anyway, but
yeah, I think it's hard to say that when he's going through whatever he's going through.
But I will say that
division's brutally hard too.
There's a piece of me that says the Kyler Murray thing is also enticing because of all the jobs. I know he's not going to start the season, but he is the guy there. Eventually, he'll be back, and he has shown elite talent here and there. He has a knack for the flash, but are you going to be the guy that's going to be able to get him to study film and to pay attention to the game more than he pays attention to the the Xbox? I don't know. That's what's tough because listen, he's not some of these other running quarterback. He can chuck it, man. He's a really good passer in football, but he's so quirky. And it's like, that's, even a guy like Sean Payton, you look at that and you're like, man, the shit that I could do with Kyler Murray. I mean, you can get really creative.
Yeah.
But do I want to deal with this fucker day in and day out? I don't know,
I'm
man.
I wouldn't be shocked if this guy gains 35 fucking pounds with this knee surgery.
I don't know. That might even be a good thing.
Playing video games, fucking around. Dude, I
don't know. He's so slight that might be a good thing. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, do you have faith that he's going to put in that work for the recovery?
I have
don't
zero
know.
faith.
I don't know. I'm not saying no, but I don't know. I don't know.
Number two,
Tom Brady gets hurt. Russell Wilson gets hurt. There's a bunch of guys. A lot of these guys, they get hurt. Yep, they're going to put the work in.
Correct.
Even Jimmy Garoppolo, they put the work in. No problem.
Correct.
Kyler Murray, probably.
Hopefully.
I don't know that probably or hopefully are good answers to that question.
No, not when you're hitching your wagon, this guy.
Yeah. And for some of these guys, listen, if you're a second-time head coach, this might be your last opportunity. Do you really want to, hitch your wagon to that kind of guy? Hey, listen, does Steve Wilkes deserve a head coaching consideration, considering the job he did down the stretch with Carolina?
It's fair.
Do you want to hitch your wagon to Kyler Murray if this might be your last chance?
Who fired him in a year?
Was that Arizona?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Full circle.
We'll go back there.
No, thanks.
But if you're a guy like that,
who
you might have one more chance to coach. Do you want your fate to be on Kyler Murray? It's tough. It's tough. Because there's a party that says, yeah, he's got so much talent. They were 10-0. Didn't they start last year 10-0?
Something like that. I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
8-0, 10-0. It's like, geez, there's a lot there. But then there's the other stuff. Look out, baby. It's a long season.
It is a long season. When you're not playing well, we know that.
Shit, yeah.
Number 2, no homer here. Denver Broncos. Big question we just talked about before in your segment. Will Russ bounce back? That's the biggest question the whole organization has.
And accepting the fact that you pretty much have no high draft picks for the next couple of years.
And it's
got to be Russ because you have no other option.
I'm starting to get a little bit scared about the GM. He had a year and a half of good moves
but some good drafts, good draft picks.
Good drafts. Defense, like we said, great shape.
Absolutely.
Weapons. Health is a key. They got to fire his fucking health staff. They've been the most banged up team in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And they got to get the right coach again. Since Gary Kubiak retired for health reasons after the Super Bowl, you've made 4 bad head choices and all coordinators. You need a proven guy, I think, somewhere now. And again, that division's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Tough. It's tough.
So it makes, I got to tell you.
Who do you have at number 1?
I got the Carolina Panthers at number 1.
Explain.
Picks. Cap.
Where's their first round pick this year? Where did they?
You gonna maybe look this up?
I think they're like 9.
I think they have 2. Don't they have 2 picks?
That I don't know.
Yeah, because they traded McCaffrey.
Right. But who cares? I don't even think there was any number 1 picks in that. That was from San Francisco. They didn't have any.
Hold the phone.
Yeah, because San Francisco wasted all their picks on the kid from North Dakota State or whatever the hell. What the hell's his name?
Yeah, you're right. Lance. 9th pick, first round, their own second rounder, San Fran's second rounder, San Fran's third rounder, their own 4th, San Francisco's 4th, and their own 5th.
So what's their first round pick?
9.
Ooh, I nailed it. That's usually your department.
Yeah. Well, you're the draft guy because your Jets usually out of it. But
so my problem with you got an impatient owner, and you don't pick until 9, which is going to make it difficult for you to get the quarterback of your choosing, unless you want to roll with you want to ride or die with Sam Darnold. Well, head coach is going to choose that.
Yeah, I know.
So to me, the only difference I have with your list is that I would put Denver as number 1. Listen, there's a reason all these jobs are open is because the team sucked. Okay, that's why coaches get fired. But you have to look and you say, like we talked about earlier, you have to believe that Russell Wilson just lost his shit. And I honestly think he lost a step. He lost a little something. I don't think he's the same guy as he was 3-4 years ago, but that doesn't mean he's nothing. I think there's a chasm between vintage Russ and dead Russ. So, and that's why I look at it and I say, if you're Sean Payton, unless that's, I want to say San Diego again. I'm stuck, man. Unless that Chargers job comes open, which I would stay patient for. And if I'm the Chargers, I'm staying patient. I'm waiting. Unless that job comes open, the Denver job to me is the most attractive one. It really is. Because I have to believe, listen, this is me sitting here telling you as a guy who's a former head coach. If you're asking me about any of those jobs, I'll work with Russ because I know Russ will do what I ask him to do. He'll fight for it. He's going to put the work in off season. I don't have to worry about him on video games. I don't have to worry about him making too many commercials.
Right.
I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get Russ's best. And if you give me Russ's best with the rest of that team the way they are, I'll take that job over anything else other than the Chargers job, if that becomes available.
You know, another thing with the Panthers, too, that division stinks.
Yes, that's true. That is true. For now.
They run the ball. They got multiple backs.
And that defense is legit. That defense is thick.
That's the only thing Matt Rule did right was fucking stack up that
draft the shit out of that defense. Did a good job with that. So, yeah, you're right. You're right on that end of it. I don't trust the owner in Carolina. He's a little impulsive. The Tepper, I think his name is. I don't trust him.
I don't either. I agree with that.
But that's it for where I stand on that.
That's it for me, brother.
Should we do some betting?
Let's bet.
I love to bet. Why don't you start since you have 3? I only have 2. Because I'm consolidating my winners so that you don't have to make too many bets to maximize your profits here.
I'm going to stick to real quick, like you said before. If you're going to do 3, you take Tampa Bay. I'm going to take Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Getting points at home. I know it wasn't a great year. This seems a little fishy to me, where they're almost begging me to take Tampa Bay. I don't know. Like, I think maybe we're getting sucked in here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Dallas looks so fucking bad.
I don't think Dallas is going to be as bad as they were last week. But Dak, forget about last week. In the last 5 weeks, Dak has like 7 interceptions. So I don't trust him at all. And I don't trust him on the road. And if they start, if Tampa gets any heat on him, I trust Tom Brady more than I trust Dak Prescott. So that's what it comes down to for me.
If you're Tampa Bay, you got to block number 11. And then if you want to come down to Dak and Tom,
you take Tom.
I mean,
let's be 45 fucking years old. You still take Tom. Crazy.
And I'm a Dak fan. I like Dak, but this is a horse of a different color.
All right, I'll give you my first of 2. I mentioned before that I think the interesting game for the weekend is the Vikings and the Giants. They played once before. Giants are coming into that game with a lot of confidence because they kind of feel like they went toe-to-toe in that building against the Vikings, who are fully healthy. They're not as healthy as they were then as they are now. So I'm sure the Giants are coming into this thinking we could take this one. I hate first-time quarterbacks in the playoffs. Especially on the road. I just think the moment can be too big. That quarterback has never been in a situation where you see the step up in intensity of the other team. Second half of the season, the Vikings defense was kind of meh. Wait till you see how hard that defense is playing and kicking ass and getting after the quarterback and knocking down balls and hitting people. I'm going to take the Vikings. I think they win by a touchdown here. Give me the Vikings -3. Everybody and their brother is on the Giants here. And that is all I need to hear. Give me the Vikings -3 over the Giants. I think they win by a touchdown at least.
Everybody, their brother, and your partner. I'm taking the New York Giants +3.
Of course you are.
I've been riding this team for weeks.
You have.
I don't trust Kirk at fucking all. I know what you're saying about Daniel Jones, first time in the playoffs, rookie, big situation. However, they don't play football kind of that way. They get him running around. They get Barkley running around. They get him loose, get him hit, take the fucking cobwebs out. Hit these no-name wide receivers like we're watching unnecessary roughness on TV. Dalvin Cook banged up. Give me the Giants. I think you're right. A lot of the whole world's on the Giants, which scares me here. Like they were all on Michigan. But I'll take the Giants. I'll ride the train again.
And everybody's on the anti-Kirk Cousins bandwagon. But Kirk Cousins does have playoff victories, not just playoff games. He's won playoff games. So You like that? Wasn't that a playoff game? Or was that just a last game in a regular season or something like that when he was with the Skins?
Was that when he came in from RG3?
I don't remember now, but you like that. Anyway, but he's won playoff games with the Vikings. He's got playoff victories over the Vikings. So that's the only reason I look at it that way. My second game here, I had a hard time, man, because there's a lot of tough games. I'm going down to Jacksonville. I think this is another really fascinating game. I would have really felt more comfortable with this pick if this game was in LA, not because the Chargers have such a great home field advantage, but because I would rather see Trevor Lawrence, a rookie first year playoff quarterback on the road. But I think the Jags are a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think the Chargers actually are behind schedule. I think they should have been a playoff team last year, and I think they know it. And I think the Jags are a year ahead of schedule. So I'm going to take the Chargers. I think this is a pretty low line. So I'm going to take the Chargers. It's basically saying win the game. Give me the Chargers -2. Did you get the same spread on that one?
I got 1.5.
I'll take the 1.5. I like yours better. Give me the Chargers -1.5 over the Jags.
I'm going to the Bay. Seattle Niners. A part of me, you almost talked me into changing this bet. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, goodness.
About 40
Which
minutes
way?
ago. I have San Fran -9.5, but you kind of almost talked me into.
How did I do that? I think this is a really tough spot for Seattle.
No, by just talking about the game, my head started going in a different direction. We're like, third time you're playing this team. Niners been killing people.
Did they beat him both times?
Yeah.
So you were going to take the Niners?
I'm still going to take the Niners, but I almost got off it.
I will tell you, if it'll make you feel any better, when a team plays the same team 3 times in a season and they beat them the first 2 times, everybody's like, it's hard to beat them 3 times.
Yeah.
That team wins at like 70% clip.
Yeah.
There's a reason you beat them twice.
I don't know where that came from, honestly.
Yeah, there's a reason they beat them twice, because they're fucking better than them. But that's a big number.
I think
for a playoff game, it's a big number.
It's a big number. They know him well. Like you said about Geno's fucking balls, and Lockett and DK can get scary if you're not on your game.
And Purdy is a first-year rookie quarterback.
That's what got me thinking.
It's tough.
Kenneth Walker's been running the football for Seattle too. If God forbid they do get a lead and they could just run out, I'm going to stick with San Fran. But this game's starting to freak me out a little bit. I don't know why.
I hear you. To me, San Fran is like the best team in the NFC. So. Yeah, but it's just a big number. That's a big number. That's the problem on the gambling side of this. Is I have no doubts that San Fran's going to win, but 9.5. You're asking them to win by double digits, and in the playoffs, that's tough. That's a lot to ask. There's a reason these teams are in the playoffs, because they're the better teams. So it's a lot. But you're going with San Francisco.
I am. So
I got. So I was going to say my 3 teams. Technically, I had Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Minus what? Or they're getting to?
Getting 2.5.
Getting 2.5. I love it. Vikings -3 over Giants, and the Chargers -1.5 over the Jags.
I'm taking Tampa Bay +2.5, the Giants +3, and the Niners -9.5.
Beautiful. All right. Hey, listen, I know you were watching and I was watching on Saturday. We very rarely get to talk NHL hockey because, frankly, I wasn't watching a lot. I used to be a huge Devils fan, or I should say I am a huge Devils fan, but I stopped watching when I moved down to South Jersey because I wasn't getting the Devils games on TV. So it was like, I kind of lost interest. But now with a lot of streaming options out there, I started watching again. And you and I both were watching the Devils Rangers game on Saturday, which was a fantastic game, back and forth, ends up going to overtime. It gets to overtime, and this is how long I haven't been watching hockey for. I'm sitting there like, what the hell's going on? There's only 3 guys on the ice, not including the goalie. It's 3-on-3 hockey, which is like beautiful. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking they should do this all the time because the ice is just wide open. Defense is almost impossible to play. So it was a great game. The Devils having won in overtime, but it was exciting. And I was watching this game with a friend, and I'm like, what's different from years ago, we'll say? Because it was the problem was always like, it's hard to follow the puck and all this stuff. Who doesn't have like a 50-inch television now? A minum of like a 50-inch television now, right? Like it's a lot easier with the wide screen and the bigger screen. It's a lot easier to follow hockey. What a great game. A lot of fun. Devils won, which is nice, and I enjoyed it. But just as a game, I'm like, Hockey's a really fun watch, man. It's a really fun watch.
It really 1 o'clock puck drop on a Saturday was
standalone.
Awesome too.
Yeah, it was a standalone
so
game.
Like so, yeah. no college football, no pro football yet, and it was a great thing. And then hockey live too was obviously one of the greatest things.
What's funny to me is, my whole life growing up, I'm a huge Devils fan, and I had a partial season similar to what you have with the Yankees. Like you have a Friday night plan or something like that. Yeah. I had a partial season ticket plan the year they won one of the years, the first year they won a Stanley Cup. And I have pictures with me and my dad with the Stanley Cup and stuff like that. But my whole life, the Devils were defense, and maybe get a couple goals here and there just to eke out wins. And they have Martin Brodeur, but it was all defense. Now they're like, it's all offense. Their defense, to me, I'm watching them. I watched them play against Carolina the other night, and I'm like, oh my God, like the defense is subpar. But man, do they have some nice young players? Jack Hughes on offense. He was a number 1 overall pick. Looks like he's going to be a stud, and they're a fun team to watch. In general, I'm back into hockey and I'm enjoying it. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some feedback from people listening that they want to hear some more about hockey. I'm down to talk about it because I really enjoyed it. As a Jets fan, I don't remember cheering as hard when my team scored in a Jets game as I did when the Devils scored against the Rangers. Like,
funny, right?
I was yelling. I'm like, yeah, like, because goals are rare. They're hard to come by in the NHL. So it was
for a long time, Pete, touchdowns were rare for you too. So
they still are. Did you watch the last 3 or 4 weeks? Hey, real quick, I had asked you during the week before we close this out about what the fuck happened. What went down in this Carlos Correa situation? What I thought he was signing with the Mets. Like, what the hell happened?
Physicals. He's got apparently a bad leg. So remember, he was signed with the Giants before he signed with the Mets. He got a huge contract from the Giants. They did the physical. They got scared away.
Okay.
Apparently, there's a pin in his leg that's not. That think it's gonna like blow at any time, and he's gonna need another one. And it's good. And then,
what team was he on?
He was on the Twins.
On the Twins.
Signed a 1-year deal with the Twins after leaving Houston.
Okay, that's what it was.
Well, he signed a 3-year deal or whatever. We had an opt-out after every year or whatever. So he was going to be gone. Goes to the Giants. Giants back off. Goes to the Mets. We're like, oh, shit, Mets are fucking stacked. Now he's going to play third base for the Mets, blah, blah, blah.
Right. That's what was exciting. And people were complaining. People were actually
about Cohen spending money.
About
right.
Cohen. This billionaire's got too much money to throw around. Is it good for the league?
Then he goes to – then the Mets get scared. Mets because
it's physical.
Mets start going, huh. The Giants want to judge so bad they whiffed on him. They spent all this money on Correa, and then they backed out on Correa. Something must be going on with this guy really bad.
Yeah.
So then they did their due diligence, and then they backed off.
Oh, my God.
So he had
no contract signed?
He had a $350 million contract from the Mets. Mets said no thanks. The saga finally ends. Goes back to the Twins, 6 years, $200 million.
My goodness gracious. Still getting a shit ton of money, but it's not with a team that's going to win any championship.
But if you're a guy like that, do you think you have a ticking time bomb in your body? You want the fucking 13 years, 12 years.
Shit,
so you get it cut in half. I mean, you're right. He's going to be able to buy dinner tomorrow, but it's still a big difference for sure. I agree.
Totally crazy. Absolutely crazy. Listen, before we get to our 95s, I just wanted to throw a shout out to one of our listeners, Chris Coleman. We were talking last week about Kurt Warner, and we were trying to figure out who followed Kurt Warner. We couldn't remember who the hell.
Franco Harris. It was Kurt Warner, right?
What's that?
Franco Harris you're talking about? The Rams. We were talking about Penn State too, and there's a Kurt Warner running back there.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Rams and who the hell followed Kurt Warner. We couldn't figure it out because we just didn't get to it. And I got a text from Chris saying it was Mark Bolger. And I was like, good for you. So it was nice
West Virginia, Mark Bolger, right?
Absolutely. Put up some monster numbers there. I think he actually was there right before Gino. Wasn't he right? Wasn't he there right before Gino?
No, I think Pat White was before Gino.
Oh, I think you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And Pat White was a little dude, but fast as shit.
Oh yeah.
So listen, that's just to show you that if you reach out to us, we'll give you a little shout out on the podcast. We love having some feedback from our listeners. So
good job,
Chris. Thanks to Chris for helping us out with that one. 95 in the book, my man. What you got?
And to answer your question, I have not thought about a new plan yet.
Still no new plan. You got 5 weeks.
So I got 4 names
4
for
weeks.
you. Number 4, Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2017 sack leader, 2010 All-Decade team, ex-Patriot and Cardinal and current Vegas defensive end.
Richard Seymour?
Chandler Jones.
Damn it.
Number 3, 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, ex-Pittsburgh Steelers outside linebacker.
Green? Kevin Green?
His partner in crime.
Shit. Who?
Greg Lloyd.
Damn it. He was nasty.
Oh, dude.
He was nasty.
Number 2, I have it written down 2-time All-Pro, but I think yesterday he just became a 3-time All-Pro.
Oh, my.
5-time Pro Bowler, 2017 first overall pick, Cleveland Brown defensive end.
Oh, I know it. Go ahead.
Myles Garrett.
Garrett. Yep.
You got to get this one, Coach. Come on.
I
Number
have
1,
to.
2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 20 MVP, 1985 All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1985 sack leader, Hall of Fame Bear and Niner defensive end.
Richard Dent.
My man.
All right. Not too bad. All right. On this day in sports history, this one touches me directly in the heart. Now, you have to remember, back in the 60s and 70s, the season was much shorter. NFL season was much shorter. So in 1969, there was a quarterback named Joe Willie Namath who made a guarantee, said we will beat the Baltimore Colts at the time. So 1969, Super Bowl III, the New York Football Jets defeat the Baltimore Colts. Was the score 16-7, and Joe Namath won the MVP. Cool little story to tell you. Many years later, maybe like 20 years ago for me, I was granted a birthday gift where I got to go meet Joe Namath. I had a helmet and he signed it. My dad was still alive. My dad came along with me and got to meet Joe Namath because my dad was at the game. Now, what's funny about my dad being at the game, as he would tell it, he says, we just decided when the Jets made it, we decided to drive down to Miami and go to the Super Bowl. And I said, oh, you had tickets? He said, no. Now, this is Super Bowl III, so it was a while ago. Things are a little different. He goes, no, we bought tickets at the window.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine going to the Super Bowl and you're like, nah, we'll just get tickets at the window.
That's great.
And I got tickets at the window. I think they were like $8 a pop. Crazy, right?
That's awesome.
So he meets Joe Namath and he says, hey, I was at the game. He says, you guaranteed it. And Joe Namath was like, oh, yeah. It was fun. He was just like, I guess so. And my dad was like, nah, I took you plus the 17 points because the Jets were huge underdogs against Baltimore. He says, I took you plus the points. And Joe Namath goes to my dad, that's what I meant. I guarantee you we covered a spread. So it was really cool. Got to take a picture with my dad, Joe Namath. And it was really a cool event.
That's cool.
1969 today. Very, very cool. So
nice.
We got that nice little story. Good one. And we'll see what happens with the playoffs this weekend. Got some cool stuff. Maybe there's some golf from Hawaii this weekend, I bet.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little hockey on the schedule. We shall see.
Oh, he loves it. He can't get enough.
We shall see. And for all you guys listening, keep an eye on the Facebook page for an update on when the podcast will be going live and then released next week. Scotty's going to be away on work.
No, next week's good.
I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, 2 weeks from now. He'll be away on work. So we're going to try to squeeze it in, figure it out somehow one way or another, but just keep an eye on that Facebook page. It's just Bump and Run Sports Podcast on Facebook, so you can find it there. And that's where we'll leave it at that, okay? So for Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice. I keep thinking it's next week, but it's 2 weeks from now. Yeah. I got to make these guys dinner, and then I'll get right to work on this. All right?
Dude? All right, brother, man. Good show, man. I'll talk to you later.
Cool. You got it later on.
Later.
By the way, we had like a good week of listeners. I lost them there.